2. The Pact of the Cursed. The climb up to the mountain wasn't for the faint-hearted. Bottomless chasms yawned widely, threatening to pitch me down into nothingness. After what seemed like an age, I had cleared the bottomless pits. I entered a large cavern and saw the carcasses of multiple deceased bodies. I slowly turned around to see a shadow flitter just out the corner of my eye. I drew my sword, and I heard something hiss with evil laughter. Its harsh whisper snatched at my ears. How do you hope to defeat that which you cannot see? I slowed my breathing down to see if I could use my power. I had left myself exposed a fraction too long. The monster surged forward with unnatural speed and wrapped its limbs around me. I panicked and began thrashing wildly. I felt the air around me begin to increase in temperature. It seemed the beast felt it too, as it leaped into the shadows of the cavern, chuckling nervously to itself. I readied my blade again, anticipating an attack. In cue the serrated claws, dripping with venom, sliced through the air just above my head. I ducked wildly and swung my sword in an arc. The sound of rusty metal carving into leathery flesh rang out, accompanied by screeches of pain and anger. The vampire lunged forward, claws ready to strike. It stopped dead in its tracks, just standing there, staring unnervingly at me. Its fangs glittered in the gloom. You're testing my patience, boy. Use your power you're so desperately wanting to use. Do it. A roar echoed into the night. Something howled back, too far away to worry about. Suddenly the air exploded, throwing shadows upon the walls. Through the glare of the flames, I caught a glimpse of the creature. Tight, gaunt flesh stretched over protruding bones. Large, leathery wings curled together, hugging his back tightly. The vampire lunged forward yet again. My gold-clad paw shot out and gripped the Night Stalker by the neck. I bared my teeth and growled, "Where is the sword, O vile one?" "The sword of the warlord." The vampire bellowed, "Octane Kahira, he is me. I am he. The sword is mine." I tightened my grip on the bloodsucker's neck. "If you're of the Kahira blood, then you can tell me what the hell is wrong with me." "What the hell am I?" The vampire laughed weakly, eyes fixed hungrily on my beating neck. "You are the creation of my siblings' twisted imagination. Something they hope will undo all their failures. My existence being one of their greater failures. The sword is my last remaining heritage. You won't have it." The vampire continued carefully. "Each artifact is in sync with its user. The sword can only be wielded by the evilest kind of person. I became a demon to wield the sword. You wish to wield the blade of the Reaper of Man? Then prove to me you aren't of my siblings' kin. Slay the village at the foot of this mountain and the sword is yours. Do we have a deal?" The vampire ran its tongue over its lips, stretching out its taloned hand for me to shake. I drove my sword forth with all my strength. The vampire launched himself high into the air and glided around for an attack. Claws outstretched, the beast rocketed down and nicked my neck. I could smell the coppery scent of blood, as did my opponent. Kane's eyes widened as he entered predator mode, shoulders hunched, mouth salivating. The monster rushed forward with unnatural speed. I felt something plunge into my stomach, then two sharp pins pierced my neck. I felt lightheaded when Octane shoved me away, mouth drenched in my blood. I glared at the bloodsucker in horror, screaming, "What did you do to me?" I stared in disbelief at the towering monster. The vampire laughed coldly. "I made you more perfect. The blood of the gods and the blood of the damned. Now you are unstoppable." With a howl of rage, I swung my sword. My sword found soft flesh of the vampire's neck. I hacked again, but the vampire slashed open my stomach, blood spattering the cave floor. I screamed as serrated claws stabbed down repeatedly. Octane laughed maniacally as blood went everywhere. With the last of my strength, I forced my fingers between the gash in his neck and began to tear. The flesh tore quickly, and I yanked. With some resistance I ripped the head off Octane. Drifting in and out of consciousness, I saw a large hulking man step into the cavern. Staring down at the bloody scene before him, muttering, "What the hell, Enadin? What did you piss off this time? Oh, dear God, what in the name of Mother Mary is that?" When I tried to move, I could feel the venom burning my flesh. I screamed in agony when the familiar shape picked me up and carried me off up the mountain. I could slowly feel my body shutting down. The big shape picked up his pace, bounding awkwardly up the stairs. Once he reached the top, he placed me down gently when the shape brandished something. I heard another voice asking frantically, "Is the boy all right?" This was my fault. I croaked weakly, "Cain, the blood of Kahira is real." Cain shook his head angrily, "Enadin, shush lad. You're delirious. You have been severely wounded." "What by though? What beast could do such a thing?" I tried to grab Cain's sleeve, but I missed. Who attacked me and lost his life was Messerum Hominis, the Reaper of Man. Blackbeard looked confused. "Who is this, Reaper of Man? What does he have to do with the lad?" Cain slowly shook his head, "So that's why the town guard didn't survive. They faced the demon himself. Never mind that for now, we need the old man to see to him or he will die." I slowly told Cain, "I'm sorry, Cain, I couldn't find the sword. Octane said something about me not being worthy to wield the sword. I had to be evil." Blackbeard smiled slightly and said, "The sword lay next to you when we found you. Nice looking weapon too. But I agree with your strange friend. You need medical attention." I tried to stand, but the venom melted some of my stomach. I screamed in agony as the pain intensified. Cain bounded up the steps and hammered on the heavy iron gates. "Oi, old man. Man. We need your help. Please." The demon caught another victim. The doors screamed open and a robed man stormed out, fury in his eyes. "You. I've told you before, you pesky swine. You're never to darken my—" The old man trailed off when his eyes fell on me. His eyes widened in horror. "You? No, it can't be. Your presence is too soon. You shouldn't be here. Wait, you're now of two bloods, this is a grave mistake." The old man turned an accusing eye on Cain. "This was your doing. Had you been patient, all would be going by the holy bones. But now we have no way of knowing what is to come." The witch doctor turned his misty eyes towards Blackbeard, who now stood in front of me, flintlock cocked, and said, "Please put your toy away, mister, you now step on holy ground." Blackbeard silently tucked away his pistol and picked me up. The witch doctor nodded to himself before quickly glancing around. "Everyone, please proceed inside. I will help this boy. But only because the spirits asked to. Don't make me regret my decision." The witch doctor pointed his chin to a door on the far side of the hall. "Place the child upon the bench and I shall be right with you. I have something I must prepare first." "Excuse me." He bowed slightly as he scurried away. Cain began walking towards the door when Blackbeard asked, "What's his problem?" "The old man, I mean." Cain shrugged carelessly. "I think all this time alone in a big house full of spirits has finally sent the old man crazy. But that's my opinion. His opinion is he thinks he's talented." Blackbeard grunted and grabbed a chicken leg off the platter just as the witch doctor shuffled in. He eyeballed the chicken leg hidden behind Blackbeard's fingers. Sure, help yourself. I have enough food to give to every stranger who passes by." Put the boy on the table downstairs. Hurry, hurry. We don't have all night." Blackbeard threw the chicken leg back onto the platter and picked me up gently. Cain ran to the door and opened it, allowing us into the room. The witch doctor handed me a drink and said, "Drink deep, child. It will help." The witch doctor paused briefly. "The vampire infected you, did it not?" Is that something you wanted? I'm not sure how your blood will react with your power. I drank the contents of the cup and drifted off into sleep. Through the fuzziness I heard the witch doctor say, "Finally we can begin. I will make you better, champion." A few hours later I awoke to Blackbeard being scolded by the witch doctor. I swung my legs over the side of the bed to see Kane asleep in the chair next to me. I stood up shakily and walked a few steps forward, wincing slightly. The witch doctor shuffled over, nodding to himself. "You should be in bed still, child. Not wandering around." Blackbeard looked over and kicked Kane awake. I smiled weakly and replied, "I'll be fine. Besides, we have company." The witch doctor cocked his head. "Dear boy, we..." He was cut short by a loud bang as something barreled into the door. The iron held fast. Blackbeard drew his sword and Kane brandished the sword of Octane Kahira. I stepped in front of them and grunted, "Protect the old man at all cost." The door collapsed and a horde of undead surged forward. As the first rushed at me, the air exploded, throwing bones and decaying rags everywhere. I absorbed the flames and launched myself at the enemy, tearing skulls from torsos, turning bones to dust. A large shadow ducked into the room and bellowed. A giant monster stood there, skin melting and bubbling. Large eyes glared at us in hate. The giant raised his mace of shattered rocks and bone, and brought it down, putting a hole in the floor. A strange voice bubbled from the creature, "You are only endangering your friend's little mortal. All I need is you. They are collateral damage." The witch doctor screamed, "Just take him already, you're destroying my house." The creature's head snapped in the witch doctor's direction and lunged forth. Blackbeard stepped in front of the doctor and stopped the creature in its tracks. The creature sniffed Blackbeard before snorting, "Edward Teach. How aggravating you're here, standing before me yet again. I will destroy you this time." I leaped onto the creature's back and sank my teeth into its neck. It roared and picked me off, throwing me into the wall. It whirled on me and swung its mace. The weapon cleaved a chunk out of the wall when Kane slid Octane's sword over. I wrapped my fingers around it and suddenly felt an insatiable rage within me. The beast cackled, "Fear tastes perfect, but murderous rage is even better." The beast reared up and sped forward, mace closing in. I jumped above the creature and brought the sword down upon its skull. Something popped and fingers grabbed me, tightening. The creature laughed and swallowed me whole. It turned its gaze onto Blackbeard and slowly advanced. The pirate captain readied his sword when a gash split the creature's stomach. Bellowing, the creature lost its balance and fell back. The gash widened and I clambered out, dripping with monster blood. Blackbeard rushed over and pulled me out from the gore. I held out the sword for Kane to take, but he held up his hands. "You earned it, boy. You slew the demon. You have earned the blade." Blackbeard gazed at the sword intently. "That's the sword that brings out murder. How could you withstand such evil?" Kane smiled slightly. "That's a story for another time. Right now Enadin needs rest." "We all do. Thank you, Doctor, for your help. I know you don't like helping me." The witch doctor scoffed. "I didn't do it for you, idiot. I did it for the heir of the gods. He can save us. The world even." By the time we reached town, the sun was just peering over the horizon. My skin felt itchy from the rays of light. As we neared the town, we noticed the streets were empty save for a gaggle of people staring at something. A large expensive ship sat in the harbor guarded by strange people. Gold armor clad their bodies and gold helmets formed like lion heads adorned their faces. Strange jagged swords were strapped to their sides. The crowd split open as we approached, revealing the ugly scene before us. The small man from earlier lay dead with his goons. Each head now left on a pike by the harbor. Blackbeard gazed at the heads in satisfaction. He muttered to himself, "I take my hat off to this handiwork. Beats what I would have done by a mile." As I approached the two strange guards, a few villagers tried to stop me, begging it would be a mistake. I stopped for a minute. Why would it be a mistake? Is that what he did? The villagers froze when footsteps approached. I turned around and a beautiful woman stood there, dressed in the same attire as the guards. She glared directly at me, then at Blackbeard and Cain. She pointed at me to follow, but Cain and Blackbeard to stay put. Blackbeard began to protest, and in the blink of an eye the two guards had their blades pressed against his throat. The guards looked at me awaiting orders. I shook my head and the two guards stepped away, sheathing their blades. I followed the woman onto the ship and the two guards stood back at their posts. The woman walked into her cabin and sat in her chair, taking off her helmet. Red hair cascaded down her back, her purple eyes watching me closely. She asked slowly, "Why do you interfere with our work?" "It is a serious offense I cannot overlook. Your friends will be dealt with momentarily." "As will you be, but first I would like to know why you now possess the sword of Brother Octane, and why you are on my land." I stared at the lady and drew my sword. The woman sighed and drew hers. "If this is your wish, I will take you down along with your friends. Your heads will join that annoying man's." As normal gold armor encased my body. My aura was dark, more sinister. The woman's face fell. "My lord, what happened?" My normally gold eyes blazed red, burning with unholy fire. My feet and paws ignited, each footprint melting the wood. I slowly advanced onto the lady when I heard Cain shouting, "Is everything all right in there? Do you need help, Enadin?" I roared and reached for her. She screamed as flames scorched her arm. The door opened and Cain entered the room with Blackbeard. They stared in horror at me, mouths agape. "Enadin, calm yourself." Immediately. I stopped and turned around. In my rage I didn't know who shouted me and I attacked, accepting the challenge. I felt hands grab my head and suddenly my rage subsided. I looked up and saw Cain gripping me head gently and Blackbeard watching, worry etched on their faces. The woman looked at me confused. "Forgive me, my lord, but what's the matter? You looked different. More dangerous." I said to myself, Octane was right. I am more powerful. I looked up at the lady. "I'm sorry, miss. Did I hurt you?" The woman shook her head. "No, my lord. You didn't." "And how did your friends get past security?" Cain shrugged. "It doesn't matter. What matters now is where do we go from here?" The woman shook her head. "I need to go somewhere outsiders can't go." "But you're allowed, my lord. We have waited a long time for your return." I replied, "I'll come if my friends come with me. I'm not leaving them behind." The woman peered out the door and noticed both guards stood guarding the door. The crowd had gone. The woman called out, "Set sail for home. It's gonna be a long trip, so get comfy." Blackbeard scowled and grunted. "I ain't happy being aboard another captain's pirate ship. Makes me sick." The woman smiled. "I'm not a pirate. This is my island." And I wanted to see why the old man was making such a fuss. Cain walked over to the lady. "Where are we going?" "The land of the gods." I pulled Cain away and sat him down. Blackbeard joined us on the bench. "Don't worry, I'll keep him company, Enadin. Speak to the girl, see if you can't find out more." The girl was rubbing her arm, where I had scorched her. I took a step towards her, when she stared at me, purple eyes flashing darkly. She spoke quietly. "The home of the gods is a sacred place. I'm not sure if my siblings will accept your presence. So just be careful not to cause trouble. I also wanted to ask you, what do you know about the family?" I shook my head. "I'll admit, not a great deal. The only information I remember was that Octane thinks that I am the creation from Twisted Minds. Octane bit me saying he made me perfect. More perfect even." The girl slowly shook her head and put on her helmet. Only time will tell if Brother Octane's meddling was a hindrance or for the good of man. For now, remember what I said, be respective and don't cause trouble. The girl strode onto the deck and whistled sharply. More of the strange guards strode up and lined up in front of the girl. The girl pointed at her escort and said, "Follow the guard, they will take us to the Grand Palace. I think we need to talk to my brother. He may be able to help." I glanced around and took in a giant city surrounded by flowing blue waters and lush forests hugging the city closely. Blackbeard whistled in wonder, as did Cain. At the top of the flight of marble stairs, a magnificent palace greeted us with high walls with a few dozen more of the strange guards. Each guard drew their rifles immediately on spotting us. The weapons were soon sheathed when the order was given to let us past. The portcullis gate rose for us to enter. Once we walked clear, the gate crashed down behind us. An uneasy feeling gripped my heart. I whispered softly, "Draw your weapons slowly, something's coming." The girl glared at me and was about to protest, then the ground erupted, dirt and rocks showered the floor. Through the cloud of dust, a hulking silhouette stirred. Great burly arms shot forward and surprised the girl. "I smell the taint of evil, I will capture you, foul one." The girl covered her head but soon realized the man was referring to me. I drew my blade, just in time to parry the man's fist. The man grunted and put all his strength into his attack. I blocked his attack and brought out all my power. My armor now sported some strange runes, my fur was burning fire, glowing emerald eyes fixed upon my prey. I noted the walls were beginning to melt. Taking a step forward, I reached out to grab my assailant, but he was gone. I pricked my ears and glanced behind me. I whirled around to block a heavy attack from my opponent. In return, I delivered a crippling blow to the side of his head. He turned his body to solid stone to try and block my attack. I watched him closely as he reeled, clutching his face. He muttered, "What the hell are you? I shouldn't have felt that. Who are you?" Deciding his questions were meaningless, I unsheathed my claws. Molten fire seared my blood. I roared in pain and collapsed to my knees. My opponent rose to his feet, his fists turned a strange shade of grey. He chuckled softly as he raised his fists to crush my skull. To my amazement, the girl with the purple eyes ran in front of me to shield me. With the man's steel fists fast closing in, I grabbed the girl and covered the girl's body with my armor-clad body. His fists connected with my spine. A resounding snap could be heard, followed by my roars of agony. Cold blood erupted from my mouth and soaked the earth. As darkness began to cloud my vision, I growled into the girl's ear, "Please, help me." My eyes closed and I fell onto my side, showing the girl unharmed.